Back here at home, faith leaders gathered with community members outside of Trump Tower this morning to protest property tax hikes.
They're calling those hikes a modern-day land grab that's devastating the west and south side. They met at Trump Tower because they say that building's property taxes were reduced, while people living in West Garfield Park in North Lawndale saw their taxes go up as high as 133%. They are condemning the Cook County assessor and the Board of Review for what they call targeted property tax hikes on poor and working class families. Faith leaders say this is a moral crisis, not just a financial problem, and they will not back down.
Because for those of us in places like West Garfield Park with a 133% increase, Lawndale with a 99% increase, Inglewood with an 80% increase, and
listen, this guy right here is dumb. He's a real ignorant pastor. And that's the saddest part. The saddest part is these pastors, not all pastors, because I know not all pastors are the same, but pastors that will take the time to go all the way down to Trump Tower and stand in front of Trump Tower and say Donald Trump is the reason why these taxes are the way that they are. It proves to me the level of ignorance, stupidity, and manipulation that's taken place. They want you to believe that Donald Trump is the reason why their taxes are high. Whether you're a fan of Trump or a fan of Trump or not, one thing you have to understand is that the reason why people buy commercial real estate under an LLC, you have tax breaks owning a commercial piece of property. That commercial property generates property taxes, which goes right to the city. They even offset the taxes that residential properties will pay within that same jurisdiction, because you view that commercial property as a larger income generating. And it is. I mean, you try to tax my house, my bill is going to really stay the same. I don't make income out of my house. Look at this. But not in the caliber that commercial properties make income. I mean, you can have a nail salon, you can have a barbershop, you can have a bunch of other businesses in that strip center or even in that building. But this guy gets up here and he goes down to Trump Tower and he says, hey, we're pointing a finger at Donald Trump because he's the reason why the Garfield Park has 95% tax increase. I think it was Lincoln Heights. I think they had 135% taxes increase. I was like, dang. I mean, imagine your tax bill being $2,000 and you take that $2,000 a year and you increase it by 135%. It is insane. But they're there because, you got to stay with me on this, they're there because they chased all the businesses out of downtown. When you don't offer incentives for businesses to be there, those businesses don't set up shop. So people don't get jobs that they would normally get by that business being there. Those businesses create income opportunities for people that need it, whether they're living in downtown Chicago or in the surrounding area. So now you slowly start to see the cause of the cause of that collapse in that area, some of these blocks and these areas, no income, no opportunities. You're chasing these income opportunities out of the city. You don't incentivize them to stay there. You penalize them. And then you turn around and you want to bring Chicago's deficit by $1 billion on their tax bill, bro. $1 billion. That's a lot of freaking money. $1 billion to be in deficit. And out of that billion, I think when I looked at the number, I think their illegal immigrant taking care of migrants, I think it made up roughly about 500 million, probably 700 million, I think of that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave a comment. I don't know if I'm right with that one. I believe it was somewhere north of about 500 million. But you as a pastor, I can tell you don't have a church. I can tell you don't have a building. You probably have a church in your home, but not a building. This is the most ignorant thing that you can even imagine. You can't even call yourself a faith leader when you do this, man. You can't, because you're twisting the situation and you're not addressing what the real problem is. The real problem is the same black people that you advocated for to get into these offices, these positions in downtown Chicago, to become, Brandon Johnson, mayor, and all these other positions. They're the ones that voted these previous increases into place. They're the ones that said it's okay for us to do it. And they're the same ones that are rolling that cost on to Lincoln Heights and some of these other places, communities around Chicago or in Chicago. They're causing the problem. They're the author of the problem. They're the author of the problem. They don't know business. They have no sound business acumen. I don't know why they're there. One of the things with politics, I always believe you should be a business person with politics. You don't have to be a graduate from one of the top B schools. I mean, I'm not saying that, but you should have some level of business acumen. I should be able to put you next to other people that do that same job in the private sector, in the corporate arena, and you should stack up to them in comparison. But no, they refuse to do it. They refuse to do it, man. And the people that believed these guys to go out and vote for them, they're as much to blame for this as the people who voted it into place. You guys have become the author of your own demise.
39% reduction for Donald Trump. And so clearly, Donald Trump gets the tax break, and on the west side, we get the tax bill.
I didn't see anything that proved there was a reduction in any of the commercial property at stake in that area, whether Trump Tower or any of them. I haven't seen anything like that. If you know of a report that shows that, please comment. You're welcome to email it to me. The email's in the larger description. I would be happy to read it. But I looked, and I like looking and reading articles and trying to find just a broader perspective on it and get down to the nitty gritty on why. But there's nothing that shows that Donald Trump or any of those buildings got a 39% reduction. If anything, because of the way the tax laws are written, they paid less in taxes than anything else. But when Chicago realizes that they've got to, when they get to the understanding that they've got to bring businesses, man, they're about to lose to Chicago, the Bears also. The Bears might just leave Chicago. That's one I'll talk about, man. That's the downfall of one of the greatest cities in our country. It's just going to crap, man. And that's the worst part about it. When you watch and you see this, and then you see these ignorant mofos get up there and they talk about it like that.
They're calling for an immediate rollback and freeze at prior levels. Both candidates for Cook County Assessor have agreed to participate in a public debate on this issue. That date has not been announced.
Man, and that's the worst part. That is the worst part, man. You're left with these clowns that are supposed to be leaders, and they're not leaders. If anything, they're the complete opposite of leaders. They're the reason why that city's falling apart. All right.